If a tree falls in the forest and no one is there to hear it, did it really make a sound? Similar question. If I make a video about my favorite TV shows, will anyone watch it? I never know. You're the free market, not me. Here we go. A comment I received on a video that was called Beard by Default. I shave once a week unless I don't. So I don't know how this comment was related to it, but I'll go with it. So our friend Victor Vestergaard, which sounds like the name of like an X-Men guy, but before he gets his powers, like that's his regular name. Victor Vestergaard. For all I know, maybe it is. I'm not that big into X-Men. I've only seen a few of the movies. Here we go. Hi Nick, what is your favorite TV show? Okay, I'm gonna tell you ultimately my top 3, and then I'm gonna tell you why. Ultimately because it's a way for you to understand my own identity and my own world vision accordingly. So I will start, I'll start with the one that's the most challenging to describe, and that would be The Office. Just by default, to me, The Office was a great series. It lasted 9 seasons. It ended well. It had a finale that made sense in the right way, in the same way that Avengers Endgame had the finale that it needed. Certain things needed to happen for a balance. It's not that everybody lived happily ever after. The Office does not end that way, and I appreciate that. And obviously, it's a comedy, but it's not the same kind of comedy that we'd been used to seeing before its time. And we saw and I watched a video too that explained what comedy looked like post September 11th, 2011. Because before that it was like, hey, there's people just hanging out in New York City. And then it was like, okay, well, no more shows in New York City, and it's about people that you don't even want to be around. And The Office, it was the perfect example of that. People having to deal with people that they don't even like, that they're having to work with, and finding humor in that and seeing character development in that. Very clever show. I love The Office. And it faced a major challenge because once Jim and Pam got together, they still had the majority of the season still left to be filmed, and how to deal with that. And I feel that the way they did that is they showed the normal challenges that happen when you get married and then you start having kids and you grow in a different way, instead of just saying, oh, and they all lived happily ever after or whatever. That had its own challenge in itself. I feel it's very interesting too, just with such a large cast. And who's the villain? Well, ultimately, a theory I've read is that Ryan Howard is the overall villain of the show. And when in his absence, it actually becomes Andy Bernard in the final season, not Michael Scott. So I love the comedy of that. I love the duration of that. Very important show for me. And it actually premiered my final semester of college. That's when it started. So, it's just like your favorite bands, even now, probably had something to do with your favorite band when you were 15 kind of thing. But it started when I was finishing out college, and then it ended when I was, married a couple years and had my first kid. So for comedy and for good overall narrative of how life actually is to some degree, and emotional intelligence, The Office. I'm going to go ahead and start with that. And these are not necessarily in order. They're just the top 3. We can say they're all equal for all I care. The second one, Lost. By the way, I want to say this. For The Office, I've seen every single episode at least twice. And for Lost, I can absolutely tell you I've seen every episode at least twice. All 6 seasons I've seen at least twice, every episode. And one of my most popular videos on my other channel, Family Friendly Daddy Blog, is me explaining the final episode, because a lot of people still thought the whole thing was purgatory, and that's not at all what the show is. That's not what it is. So I made that video to explain that. Well, there's so many things about Lost that I love, but ultimately, it was a show that, and a precursor, of course, to Breaking Bad, which I'm about to get to, which I obviously gave away with my third show there. But with Lost, you were able to see characters that were flawed. You saw, here's them at their best, and mostly here's them at their worst. Every single character had undeniable flaws, and season after season, flashback after flashback, and flash forward, you got to see the journey that they went through. And Lost, just like The Office, just like with the Marvel Universe in Endgame, things don't end up great for everybody in the end. Certain people they do, certain people kind of get stuck where they are, and certain people it's not okay when it's all said and done for Lost. But it's ultimately a show of redemption, and that's a show. Honestly, I have to give a lot of credit to that show for helping me realize what, and this is a big part of my identity, that we're not good people. Like, that's a myth. The fact that there's good people and bad people, that's something we tell ourselves to make us feel good because we compare ourselves to the axe murderer, but not to the saint. We have to feel good about ourselves. But I do not believe that there are good or bad people. The moment you believe that you're a good person, then that's the moment you start believing that you deserve better. Well, why do bad things happen to good people? I'm one of the good people. No. I don't deserve anything, good or bad, because I am just a human being. Like, we're all people. We're not good people. We're not bad people. We're people, and we make decisions that alter our lives and others, for better or worse. That's how life actually is. And Lost, I feel, has a very strong understanding of that. And again, it taught me a lot. So Lost. And then the final, of course, Breaking Bad. Wow, can you think of a better show in general for any reason, but that specifically challenges you morally? For someone who starts out truly trying to do the right thing and then becomes the ultimate villain, one of the worst villains we've ever seen, but we still empathize with him and we still want to find some way he's going to win in the end. Compare that to a movie like Scarface. Like, by the end of the movie, things aren't going to end well for him. But I don't know that I'm really rooting for Scarface the whole time. I'm just more curious about, like, okay, how does it end for this guy? Because he can't. But with Breaking Bad, there's still the whole way through, no matter what horrible things he was involved in, I still wanted to find some way that it worked out for him. As he he gained the whole world but lost his soul kind of situation. But yes, again, another show that reminds us that we're not good people. And put in certain circumstances, we all could become bad. We all could break bad if put in a certain situation. Hey, I've never murdered anyone. But you know what? If I were born in the 1950s and I got drafted to Vietnam, and somebody like Bruce Springsteen says, they put a rifle in my hand to kill the yellow man, and as a 19-year-old kid, that's what I thought I was supposed to do, that I was defending my country and fighting for freedom. So they dropped me off in the jungle and someone's starting to shoot at me. So then I started killing all these people that I can't see. When it's all said and done, I'm pretty sure I killed like 3 or 4 Vietnamese people. Over what? Over a political war to vaguely fight communism back in the 60s and 70s. In the right circumstances. Well, no, Nick, that's not murder. That's military. That's different. It's war. War is different. War is hell, Nick. Don't you know that? Yeah, but that's a gray area. That's a gray area because it's easy to assume that whatever nation you live in, that you're automatically on the right side of things. But as an American, I don't assume that. I've already seen what happened in hindsight with Vietnam. So I definitely question things that happen in the Middle East, that we police the world, and have over 600 military bases all across the world, and we would not be okay with them being over here. So there's a lot of gray area there. And I like that about Breaking Bad. It's challenging to us. It's challenging for us to have to think about ourselves and to think maybe we're only a few steps from being the bad person that we would never see ourselves being. What would it take for that? Or if we're lucky, we never get put in that situation. So it had a lot to do with me. And of course, it definitely, during that time, I was every time I watched, I was challenged morally. And again, between that and ultimately Lost, got me to the point where I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm not a good person. I got to stop seeing myself that way. And of course, as we all know, when I stopped seeing myself as a good person, circa age 35, which is 3 years ago, which was about the time Breaking Bad was coming to an end, and Lost had already ended a little bit before that. I think I lived enough life experience, and then even those TV shows influenced me enough to realize, Nick, you can be in control of your own emotions and you don't have to let other people control you. And it really helped my life development. So for those shows, so again, The Office and Lost, Breaking Bad, those are my top 3 shows. And this was not a video about my favorite shows. This was a video about shows that shaped me and helped you understand my identity as now a 38-year-old guy. Your comments belong right here.